I am joined now by the State Director of NFIB, Mike Elmendorf. Heather Bruschetti is here. She is the Vice President of Government Affairs for the State Business Council. And joining us all the way from Syracuse is Brian Sampson, the Executive Director of Unshackle Upstate. Welcome, everybody.
Thank you.
Some of you are veterans.
Thanks,
Heather,
Liz.
welcome for the first time.
Thank you, Liz.
Okay, so this is unusual, and Brian, I'd like to start with you. There's actually a coordinated campaign, so if you would tell us what the elements are and what these three entities are doing together.
Well, clearly the one thing we haven't done very well in the past is work collectively to support a common set of candidates. That's what we're choosing to do this year. We think there are some very good, credible challengers for some Senate seats this fall, and we're supporting those challengers. And we've done a little bit of mailing thus far. We're going to put some volunteers on the streets to support some others. And frankly, what we need to do is show that the business community and the taxpayers have some bite to their bark. And you know, when we have success on November 2nd, we'll have some people that we can turn to come January to get some legislative reforms done and to get some policies in place that will stimulate private sector job growth while at the same time relieving the burden on our overtaxed taxpayers.
We actually have talked on this show before, Mike, about the failure of the business community to have a collective voice. Sure. And that's what you're trying to do here. Actually, all of these entities are issuing report cards for the first time. The Business Council is doing formal endorsements, which is something you have not done before. And you've got mailers. This one's a little small, might be hard for the viewers to see, but it's a little bit of a postcard, and it says, Senator Valesky's anti-jobs, anti-taxpayer voting record is nothing to smile about. And it has a smiling photo of the senator there. What else are we going to see along these lines?
Sure. Well, we've been doing a lot, and I think it's really important to note that this is significant, that these organizations have come together and are working together on the political front. That's new, and I think really this year we've been working together in a lot more sensible way on the policy front too. We've really had our arms locked together, and it's not just the three of us. There are other groups that have been doing the same sorts of things, but you can't decouple the policy from the politics. And clearly we need to elect more people who are going to be pro-business, pro-job, pro-economy, pro-taxpayer votes. That's what we've been doing. Earlier this week, Ken Adams, who's the president of the Business Council, and I were with Brian in Buffalo. We endorsed Jack Quinn for the state Senate out there, who's got a very strong record on these issues. We were in Syracuse today to endorse Andrew Russo together. Tomorrow I'm going to be heading down to Westchester County to make an endorsement there. I don't want to step on my story, but you could probably figure that one out.
Yes, a Republican.
Who that's going to be.
I think what I'm hearing from you is Republicans.
Well, unfortunately,
all Republicans.
These are the folks who are supporting our agenda. And, you talk about Senator Valesky. 2 years ago, he had a 100% voting record with us at NFIB.
I remember this. We've talked about it.
And we endorsed him. We endorsed him. This time, he's got a 20% voting record with us. That's not passable. We can't afford any more of that.
I think he's getting to an important point, which is all three of our organizations separately evaluated legislators, and I think almost 2-1 we agree who passed and who failed, who deserves our support and who doesn't. And our experience the last 2 years has been so negative in the business community as far as jobs and the business climate that we really felt we needed to step it up and do something different this time around.
Are you worried, though? Isn't there a danger? I mean, we're talking about the Senate is very closely divided. It's 2 seats. It's right. It's 1 seat lost to tie, if you will, to deadlock the chamber. If you gamble wrong or you bet wrong, then you can end up with a very unfriendly majority. Would it be worse than what you're already seeing?
It's hard to imagine them being any worse. I mean, literally, our organizations lobbied collectively on any number of bills this year. And, the bills that we supported, very few of them passed. The ones that we opposed jointly, we didn't have a great degree of success on it. So it's hard to imagine that they could get worse. I suppose that there is a risk in that, but if they're offended by our failure to endorse them, then hopefully they'll be receptive to what it takes to get our endorsement next time.
Yeah, and
around.
I would just, adding on that point, Heather is absolutely right. I can't see it getting much worse than it's been, but look, this isn't personal. This is based on the votes that these legislators cast, and these are big issues, as we talked about on the show before. These aren't little gotcha things. This is their record, and they haven't done the right thing for taxpayers or the economy, and we're going to let people know that.
Brian, can you talk at all about the extent of this agreement here, or of this newfound sort of relationship that's happening, the synergy, or if you will, of the business community? I mean, how far are you guys willing to go? How much money are you putting into it? And what will it entail? Is it also going to be get out the vote? Will there be phone banking? Will there be, obviously there's mailers, will there be TV ads?
Sure. Well, here's the thing, and just echoing what Heather and Mike said, you can have your own opinions, but you can't have your own facts. And the facts of the matter are, We've seen the largest budget increases in almost New York's history. We've seen over $9 billion in new taxes and fees. We've seen business tax credits cut in half. The average family of four has had $1,300 taken out of their pocket, and they've gotten nothing additional for it. So I think that there's finally a time, and what you see here today is NFIB, the Business Council in Unshackle Upstate, as the leading voice of business and the taxpayers in the state of New York. We understand that there could be ramifications for what we're choosing to do, but we're willing to run that risk because it is so devastating right now. We can't create private sector jobs, or people are continuing to vote with their feet and leave the state. This is the first step. I think next year on the policy side, you'll see us come together even more aggressively. In 2012, guess what? We're going to have to turn around and do this again, because the reality is our government didn't slip away from us over the course of a couple of years. It's going to take us several years and several election cycles to get a government back.
But what is going to be, is there a dollar amount that you can put on this in terms of the effort?
Well, I think we've raised enough money to do what we think is necessary to have the impact in the races, get the results that we want and that we deserve.
You know, what's interesting about that, though, and we've actually had this conversation on the show before, is that business has been disparate in their efforts in terms of impacting politics, and that's part of the reason why other entities, like, say, the Working Families Party and Labor, which tends to be much more united, has more clout.
Well, and I think to that point, I mean, we have a great deal of difficulty in raising funds from businesses. If they are incorporated in the state, they're subject to contribution limits.
Right.
The restrictions on spending by business, and these are businesses that are struggling right now to make their payrolls, many of them, to have money to set aside for political spending, which, as you noted, is a risk, it's a very difficult ask for us. Unlike, you know, the unions where they can do payroll deduction, our employers don't do that. They don't take payroll deduction from their employees to go to PAC spending.
And their contribution limit is quite a bit higher than yours, actually.
That's correct.
Right.
Also, have all of you done, I know the Business Council endorsed Andrew Cuomo, the Democrat, Upstate, Unshackle Upstate has or has not, Brian, done a gubernatorial candidate?
No, at this point we haven't. We've focused in on the legislative body, as that's where the bulk of the budget and the bills are passed.
And Mike, yes,
No,
NFIB?
we haven't endorsed any statewide candidates at this point. I don't see us doing that.
Okay, and just imparting, though, there are actually some people that you're also supporting. I mean, this isn't all a negative
Sure.
effort that you guys are up to, so what is that about?
I mean, we're supporting a number of candidates, challengers who are non-incumbents, who have pro-jobs. They've signed a pledge that they're not going to increase taxes, that they support our fiscal reform agenda, which includes property tax cap, spending cap, and we're supporting incumbents who are have voted consistently with our voter guide, and I think the other organizations are doing the same.
We'll have made, when all is said and done, probably about 70 endorsements in state legislative races in every part of the state. Obviously, the challengers, and particularly in the Senate, is where most of the attention is. That's where we're spending money. We're not really spending money for too many incumbents. There are a few who are important to us, who have stood with us, who we want to stand with when they've got tough races. And for NFIB, this isn't new. We've been endorsing candidates. We've had a political program for years. We also endorse at the federal level, and we're playing in a number of congressional races around the state as well. So we've been pretty busy.
Well, you actually only have 2.5 weeks to find out whether or not you played your cards right. So, unless some of these races go very long, unless the Senate gets deadlocked, but we are not hoping for that because
Let's hope
it would be
not.
No.
quite ugly. We've already seen it. I want to thank you all for joining us, Brian. Thank you very much. Thanks very much, Heather.
Liz.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Liz.
Always a pleasure, Liz. Thanks.